So for a month or so now, we've been sending out requests asking you to find unusual and really interesting sounds in Toronto, and either to tell us about them or to actually record them and send them to us. And we've actually had some people, and we'll continue to have some people, going around Toronto, taking your ideas and making audio recordings. So you might be wondering what we're gonna do with these. Some of the recordings, the actual recordings themselves, will likely find their way into a Toronto Symphony piece. But I'm thinking of something a little different than that, because we're very used to these days hearing kind of collages of all kinds of sounds that get mixed together. You hear it on the radio, you often hear it with a big backbeat. In popular music, you set down a beat and you can take a recording of almost anything and whatever, it kind of fits together. But that's not so, actually, if you think of the two extremes, either a beat, fitting everything together according to a beat, that's kind of cool, but I find it a little too simple. The opposite is, I don't know if you know the composer John Cage, one of the great composers of the 20th century. Highly recommend that you look him up if you don't know him. John Cage imagined that really every sound in the universe is a musical sound, no matter what it is. And you didn't really need a composer to put these sounds together. You just needed listeners to open their ears to hear a traffic, a car honk, or a machine in a factory, or whatever, the famous streetcar sound in Toronto that so many of you told me about, that all of these could sound like musical sounds. And often John Cage recorded everything and then just layered them together in a kind of almost like a sonic soup. And that's very beautiful, but he already did that. And what I'm interested in is taking the sounds that you sent me and actually finding the music in those sounds. So not taking them literally, but actually imagining a sound of a bell, or a sound of a streetcar, or a sound of crowds, or a sound of the water, and seeing what would happen if those sounds were actually played by instruments. If the orchestra, it's like the orchestra digested those sounds and played them out again as a kind of combination between the original sound and the way they're transformed when they get played on instruments. I think that's a beautiful thing to imagine an orchestra doing. So that's my task right now with these sounds. I'm listening to things that everyone sent in. I'm imagining how a gong could be performed by the drums and the metal instruments in the orchestra, and maybe some of the string instruments as well, rather than just by playing the original sound back. And by pulling the music out of these sounds, it'll also let me associate them together on a kind of musical level. I can kind of find the common DNA in the different sounds and to link them together like that. So I'm right now making experiments with your sounds, and hopefully by the end of August, if not in early September, I'll start sending some of these experiments out to you to take a listen. Maybe we'll do an A and B comparison. I'll send you the original sound. I'll send you how it gets transformed, played by real instruments, and see if you can match them up, see how good a job I do. And then we can kind of take it from there. I'll put a link on the website so you can take a listen to the way I did this with a project a few years ago, an opera I wrote called Skellig. And in that opera, there are a lot of nature sounds and also city sounds which are talked about by the characters, and then, just as I'm trying to do in a Toronto Symphony, they're actually transformed and played by the instruments. And in that case, they're actually interpreted by people's voices. In the Skellig opera, I had a chorus of young people who weren't professional singers at all, and they listened to recorded sounds in an earpiece and then imitated the sounds with their voices. And we worked until this chorus of about 20 kids could make the sounds of traffic or the sounds of the dawn, or really kind of amazing things. So I'll put a couple of those online so you can take a listen, see what I'm looking for in Toronto Symphony, and together we'll find something new, I think.